there was this guy that popped up in the thread and was like, "Oh, what are you guys doing? Like roasting this guy for trying to set like a ambitious target." And it turned out that it was Keith Hong. And Keith, for a lot of people, would probably know him within the Sydney running community. He's a big sort of name, and he absolutely froths running. He reached out to me and was like, "Oh, hey mate, like don't worry about those people. Like I'm going to be running Melbourne Marathon, and I'll be around that sort of time." We found out actually at the time I was living in Neutral Bay that he lived 5 minutes down the road. Like he was in Cremorne or Camaret, and he runs at Delta. For those that don't know, and he was like, "Oh, like come for a run sometime." So we just did like a shakeout run a few weeks before Melbourne. He was telling me about Delta and the community down there, and then started running with them after Melbourne. And they were obviously, that's been one of the big sort of step changes, having those Tuesday sessions and having the option of going for the long runs and stuff. It's a pretty awesome group with so many dedicated and passionate runners, which I'm always pretty grateful to have that at my fingertips and being able to run with those guys and girls.
I think one reason why I love this podcast is because a lot of like names get dropped and they get shout outs and stuff, but for a very good reason. Like Keith, you reminded me, is like one of the most nicest people I've ever met. Everyone can kind of agree with me because, it's hard to come across Keith when he's not being positive or anything like that. He's always willing to have a chat and be supportive of your ambitious goals and help you get there and give you advice and all that. And he's so willing to help, and he always like reaches out. And sometimes you can come across as, wow, what does he want in return for this? Like there must be something, but he just doesn't want anything in return. He's purely just wanting to help people out. And I feel like, well, I'm not saying it's hard to come across people like that in the world, but it's just so cool to see Keith always trying to reach out, help out, and he never wants anything in return. He just wants to see you succeed. So huge shout out to Keith. Another person I want to get on the podcast. I think all these podcasts are just reminding me of who else I need to get on in the future. So
Hey, it's all the Delta crew as well. There's a bit of a trend going
exactly.
on. But he's one of the most selfless guys that I've met. So I thank him honestly for getting me into all the running, because he's been a big part of my journey so far.